Good evening and welcome everyone. I'm Sheetal Rastogi from World Travel Magazine. Today we are in Chiang Mai. Once the capital of the Lana Kingdom, Chiang Mai today attracts art lovers, fashion conscious shoppers, and those looking to plunge into nature. This is land far away from the marine parks and the beaches of Thailand. Here we find forests, hills, and mountains. The land of smiles comes in two shades here, the blue sky and green landscape. We are now at a stage where domestic travel has started in Thailand and regional travel within Southeast Asia will begin soon. Within the treasure chest of Chiang Mai, there is a place that brings together history, art, design, and hospitality. The 137 Pillars House, a boutique hotel in Chiang Mai. We are here with Anne Arrowsmith, the general manager of this gorgeous property, and she is going to share with us some of the unique experiences in Chiang Mai. Hello and welcome, Anne.
Hello, and it's a pleasure to be joining you today.
How are things in Chiang Mai, Anne?
Today it couldn't be better. We've got glorious blue skies, as you mentioned, and I'm sitting in the garden in front of the original Thai teak house, surrounded by greenery. So it's rather gorgeous.
I can hear birds as well. It's so peaceful.
Well, what's quite remarkable is that our location sits right in the heart of Wat Gate, which means that our guests can have easy access by walking from the property to the Ping River and to many of the big attractions within the old city. But when they come back to the hotel, it really is a sanctuary. And as you heard, and we may hear more of them, if the cicadas start talking, we may be drowned out. You would think that we are sitting actually in the middle of a botanical garden.
Yeah, and from ruins to restoration and home to 30 suites, the colonial heritage of 137 Pillars House has not just been preserved, but elevated as well. So how many artisans and designers were involved in this whole process, and is this an ongoing process?
It's always ongoing. And I think any of us that have property can relate to the fact that buying it is one thing, but upkeep is another, and that process constantly goes on. The resort is just 8 years old, and with the exception of the house, the rest of the accommodations were added. So in terms of artisans, it was a totally Thai experience. Our owners, as you may know, are a Thai family, and their first love was for preserving the house. And their intention was that it would be their getaway home from Bangkok and somewhere that they as an extended family could enjoy. That original intent changed along the way as they researched and found out more history about the house. And they involved a local professor to consult with in terms of ensuring that the work that they did to quite a dilapidated property was actually done authentically. So we had the owning family that were involved. Then we had, in terms of the architect, that was a Bangkok company called Habitat, and the interior designers were P49, who have gone on to do quite notable projects. I think this one, and the landscape was by another Bangkok company called P Landscape.
And being in the city area, how does your design transport one into the fertile greenery of northern Thailand?
That actually started, I would say, from the original discovery of the house, because the house just sat within quite a large area, roughly 5.5 rai of property. And with the exception of the teak building, the rest was actually somewhat taken over by nature. So from the very beginning, all of the significant trees within the property, it was mandated that they must remain. So the property itself, in terms of the accommodations, were accommodated as the trees would allow. So it's very much from the aspect of it's a resort within a garden.
Yes.
And very much from the point that you come from our cocher into the property, one really has the sense that you're entering an estate, and you're entering an estate with hidden corners and with a oneness with nature, I would say. And that has been embellished because our pool is, the edge of our pool has a green wall, which is some 30 meters high, and it's 120 meters long. And it's just a magnificent backdrop to one side of the resort. So we have a living green wall, we have the ancient trees, and then the rest has been embellished, including we have a croquet lawn, which is slightly to my right. So everywhere, the design was very much to have a harmony between indoor and outdoor living. And the suites themselves each come with a very generous balcony or patio with a double day bed and a signature rocking chair. And, you know, one can quite easily just sit and lounge and enjoy your privacy, but look out and enjoy the gardens. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's the property sits beautifully in the city center. It's from distance, I can imagine that it doesn't feel you're in the city center, in the heart of Chiang Mai, with the kind of landscaping that you've done. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's quite, sorry, it's quite remarkable because we are just steps away from the Ping River and from the city, and the area was actually the enclave of the expats, and it was the east side of the Ping River, which was somewhat designated as being the area that in the late 1880s, when foreigners came to this part of Thailand, that they were allowed to live. So we are surrounded by a lot of historic buildings, whether it's the temples or whether it's the colonial buildings, which are literally just minutes from our door. So the Gymkhana Club is about 5 minutes by car from us. It's one of the oldest country clubs per se, that was the playground for the expats. It's one of the oldest in Thailand. We've got the first church in Chiang Mai, which is again just steps from where we are. The river. We've got McCormick Hospital, which was a missionary hospital originally, and then we've got the Prince's College, together with the Dara Academy, which was founded by one of the wives of King Rama V. So we're in a very historic area, steps from the old city, steps from a little bit of the madness and the activity that you find in the city, but I sit within a sanctuary.
Yeah, so it's a mix of both actually. That's fantastic. So Anne, in this new normal, contactless is a preferred option. How have you enabled contactless from 137 pillars in Bangkok to Chiang Mai without compromising on that human connection?
That, you know, that's, I think, a dilemma for all of us, because those of us that sit in the luxury end of hospitality, you know, we wish to provide personalized service. So in a sense, it's a challenge that we've always faced, and it's one that in providing assurance to our guests, as well as the services that Thailand is renowned for, and we as a hotel pride ourselves on, it you know, it is how do we present ourselves in an accessible way when guests want us, but in a respectful way with respect to personal safety and comfort. We've had from the very beginning, actually, we have promoted the essence of luxury by suggesting to a small sector of our clients the use of private jets, or indeed a chauffeur from Bangkok. I just drove here on Friday from Bangkok, and it's a very scenic journey most of the way, and it's a 7-hour drive, which, you know, if you're in the comfort of a chauffeur-driven car, can be absolutely a wonderful option to flying commercially. So we would suggest to people who want the ultimate of privacy and safety, those two options. One, a chauffeur-driven transfer between Bangkok or indeed any other city and Chiang Mai, or there is always the option of private jet travel. And we work with a company called AA Aviation.
Well, that's wonderful. And what are some of the experiences for taking in all of Chiang Mai, from its landscape to history? Which ones would you recommend?
Well, first of all, I would really proposition that when people are coming to Chiang Mai, that they don't underestimate the destination, because there is so very much to be done here. So, you know, we have the cultural component and the historical components, be it temples or the colonial architecture, you know, and then on the other side, we've got nature, we've got the hill tribes. There is lots to do for those that might be physically active, from hiking to biking to zip lining to river rafting, you know, and then on the nature component, we do have numerous, and you know, I might sound a little bit like commercial here, but the elephant sanctuaries that are here in Chiang Mai really serve a needed purpose. You know, these magnificent animals that went from earning a living are now costing people a living, and as the natural habitat shrinks from them to be able to live in, those establishments that we work with really are providing I shouldn't say a livelihood, they're providing a circumstance where elephants can actually thrive and survive. Yeah. So, and then you've got, you know, the culinary part to Chiang Mai, and for those of us who love good food, I mean, you've got everything happening here. You've got, you know, the street food is excellent, and then there's fine dining cropping up all over the city, because the Michelin Guide came in just over a year ago, and you know, throughout Thailand there has been awakening in terms of great cuisine. So there's everything. And I didn't mention the shopping, but
Yeah.
you know, from silks to ceramics to wood carvings, there's just a plethora of options that people have. So
Yeah.
I would suggest that people seriously who have not been to Chiang Mai really consider a minimum of 3 nights stay here.
Yeah.
Because with so much to do, I almost find it sinful that people just don't relax and enjoy just doing nothing here at the resort.
Yeah, and I think probably read somewhere or probably on one of the campaigns earlier that you have a sunrise hot air balloon. So are you still continuing with that?
Absolutely. It's about a 50-minute drive from here
Yeah.
towards Doi Saket, and I actually had the privilege of doing that myself. So for anybody who's not experienced a hot air balloon, it's absolutely blissful because the silence that you experience when you actually are up in the balloon is just, it's breathtaking. We almost forget what silence is like. So you've got the vistas everywhere. You've got the excitement of just really floating over the world and just having an experience and a vantage point that, to my mind, shouldn't be missed. Everybody should take a hot air balloon trip.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when you land, you get the privilege of getting a certificate that you've done it, and it's customary to have a champagne breakfast.
Yeah.
So what better way to spend your day?
Yeah, and do you have to book in advance, or how does it work?
Yes, it is preferable to book in advance because the availability is limited, and it is somewhat conditional on weather.
Okay.
But our concierge, we have butlers that are assigned to every suite here, and something that we pride ourselves on is that as much as possible, the journey for our guests starts before they arrive at the hotel. So our butlers will be introduced to the guests prior to their arrival, and you know, in that correspondence, we can just find out what personal preferences there are, and how they might want to spend their time, and if we can help structure that on their behalf to their individual needs.
And what's that one drink that captures the mood of Chiang Mai?
Well, I think that depends on the person, but as I get to answer the question, I would strongly suggest our signature cocktail called the Aged Teak. It has a rye whiskey base, together with vermouth, and then it's got a hint of grapefruit and orange, and then the whole thing is imbibed in a cinnamon and anise sort of smoke container under like a glass potch, and when you enjoy it, you know, it's a drink that it's visual, it's sensory because it hits your nose in terms of the wood and smoked smell to it, and it tastes rather smooth. Yes, we have our mixologist here.
Rye whiskey.
Rye whiskey.
Tasty grass. Then we have some hummus. Fried. Grapefruit juice.
Just a hint of grapefruit juice. Bitters.
Stir. Together. Double stain in the operation grass.
You can't smell it, but it smells gorgeous already.
Put some orange. Cinnamon. Spill of the oil of the pure orange. Then we have the smoke.
Okay, right. It's under the glass cosh, and it's being imbibed with the smell of cinnamon and anise, star anise.
Right.
Ready to serve.
That's wonderful. Cheers, Anne.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers.
Well,
Would
I
love
wish-
to
I
join
wish you
you
were here.
next time when I'm in Chiang Mai.
I wish you were here to join us. Cheers.
Cheers, Anne.
Well, I
That
better
looks
say-
amazing. That looks
It would be
amazing.
rude. It would be rude not to try it, right?
So, Anne, as we wrap up our session for today, do you have any message for our viewers?
Yes, I do. Chiang Mai is a must in terms of, if you're considering Thailand, do not consider missing out on the north of Thailand. So many people know of Bangkok and they know of the beaches, but they're not quite so familiar with northern Thailand. So one, having lived here for 5 years and having been in Thailand for more years than that, it really is a discovery that everybody should put on their list of desirable places to go. And when coming to Chiang Mai, please, minimum of 3 nights, preferably 4, and if you can indulge, longer. It's a destination, it defies age, so it can be for the young, it can be for honeymoons and romance. It's a fabulous destination for families. And for those of us with silver hair, it's a grand place to come as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us today. And best wishes to you. And best wishes to you and entire team for reopening. And we'll meet soon in Thailand.
Absolutely. You must come and visit.
Indeed.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anne.